All right, we had a great day in Big Canoe today. Honored our veterans with a parade over the Lake Pettit Dam at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Tim, and welcome to the last board work session in 2020, as December is going to be our annual meeting. Sadly, the last work session in the 3-year term of office of Wayne Crawford, who will be.
All right, we had a great day in Big Canoe today. Honored our veterans with a parade over the Lake Pettit Dam.
That works for me, Bob.
And he'll be completing his term after the annual meeting. Wayne has served with distinction, dedication, commitment to excellence, and contributed countless hours to the betterment of Big Canoe. For this distinction, I've asked Wayne to host the meeting. Wayne, it's all yours.
Okay, Scott, you're up, bud.
Thank you, neighbors. Good afternoon, and happy Veterans Day, one day late. And thank you to everybody who served this amazing country. My dad was a World War II vet, and always worried that they were going to be forgotten. And if you go out and look at our dam and the beautiful banners on the dam, you quickly realize that our veterans are not forgotten. So take the time in the next week to do that, because it's pretty wonderful and pretty stunning. So thanks to everybody. Starting out with where we are, Spruce Up Big Canoe on the outside projects is coming to a close as the leaves drop down. So the cart house, the cart barn, the clubhouse, the main gate have all been repainted, and they're just, if you haven't been there for a while, first of all, you should go there because the food's really good. But second of all, the paint is just, it's stunning. It's beautiful, actually. Sit in duffers, look at the leaves, and look back at the clubhouse. It will make you very proud. Trina did a great job in picking out those colors for me. It's always good to get an expert, so she did quite well, and they look lovely. We also refreshed the landscaping around there as well. It's quite nice. We're now moving into the indoor phase of Spruce Up Big Canoe. So lots of restrooms, lots of POA buildings that haven't been painted for a while on the inside. You'll see a lot of sprucing up on the inside of the clubhouse in January that we're planning for at this point. We have a vote that is underway, and we are voting for the installation of 2 directors. And that's Bob Littell and Amy Troffenbaum, 2 very wonderful qualified individuals. And it's kind of funny because there's 2 openings and 2 people, and we still need you to vote. It's really, really important that you return the ballots for 2 reasons. Number one, voting and making sure that we get a quorum of 25% is really important for installing those directors. And also you'll find a proxy form in there. That's very important to make sure we have a quorum for the annual meeting. And the proxy does not give Bob Crouch any huge powers to move Big Canoe to Hilton Head or anything like that. It's just for establishing the quorum. So please return the proxies. That's pretty important. We also have another vote coming up, which will be in December. That is for the Capital Contribution Fund. And for those who are not so familiar with that, we have a upcoming town hall meeting, virtual town hall meeting, and that'll be next week on November 17th. We have some great guests lined up who will teach you everything you want to know about the Capital Contribution Fund, why we're doing it, why we believe it's a fair way to share the future of Big Canoe between those who have been here and paying assessments for a while and new homeowners that are coming into Big Canoe. So please try to make some time for that, or you can watch it later on YouTube. And there's also a website, bigcanoeccf.org, similar to what we did with Creek 9, and you'll find lots of great Q&As already up on that website, and you have a chance there to also ask any questions you might have about the Capital Contribution Fund. So again, that's bigcanoeccf.org. Let's see, what else can I tell you about? We have a bunch of other projects that are underway, and we're going to talk about a few of them here today. The Bocce projects is now out to bid. The indoor tennis facility renovation is also out to bid. We have chosen a contractor for the Creek 9 renovation, and that contract will be going through the Finance Committee shortly and then for approval by the board. And that is all within the parameters that the the community voted on a month or two ago about the Creek 9 renovation, but we are moving forward and actually starting to get our hands a little dirty and start to get busy on that. And we've also installed a camera system for the first time in the North Marina, so that the guys in the shack out at the main marina can see what's happening in the North Marina. So just an added thing for safety and security that we've done with the marina. Bunch of events coming up. First of all, Terry wanted me to pass on to everybody. She has done 35 new family meetings of new property owners in the month of October. So 35 new families have come here in 1 month. 61% of those folks are full-time, 39% are part-time, and more children. It's really neat, actually. So many, as a matter of fact, that their parents are starting to work with Terry to put together a almost kind of like a new family guidance group to talk about how they can do different activities and have fun and learning abilities and things like that for all of their kids. So kind of back to the future for Big Canoe. This was the original vision way back in the early 1970s, and with technology and COVID and high-speed internet and good water systems and good security, I think we'll see more and more of these folks coming our way to North Georgia, which is pretty wonderful. We have some great things happening with property owner events. It's been a really tough year. It's been a really tough year for Terry and her committee, having to cancel so many things. But we have some great things happening. So there is a Thanksgiving to go menu. You can go directly to our website and you can see the menu, and you can call Doc Grogan and get your orders placed there. Everything from a complete Thanksgiving meal to being able to order a la carte and get sides or desserts or just the yummy turkey. Any of that is available. So if you don't want to cook and spend a little more time relaxing with family, Thanksgiving to go from the clubhouse is the way to go. We also have the winter ball. That is also information of that is available also now on the website. It will be December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There'll be 3 sessions of 50 people each. The 50 is not a coincidence. The 50 is tied to the governor's executive order. We'll be spreading people out throughout the whole clubhouse. There will be a band, and we're doing it in 3 nights, and a band all 3 nights, and beautiful decorations as well. So a nice way to end what has been a very challenging year for an awful lot of people. So that will go pretty fast. So December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. On December 5th, Terry is going to do a light up the lake. Rumor has it, I have a boat. I've never decorated a boat. I don't even know how to decorate a boat. But by December 5th, I will have a decorated boat, and we're going to have a lot of folks out on the lake, and hopefully some of the homes around the lake will decorate and put on a pretty nice show for everybody as well. And then to really end the year, on December 12th, we are doing a Wilderness Wonderland Drive-Thru. So Lake Lanier has nothing on us, and we're going to do a really fun drive-through that culminates in the fire station for some very special goodies handed out by our awesome public safety department. So again, something to say, you know, we're ending the year well and having a little bit of fun as well. And we think that's very important. Also, you may see when you go to the beautiful clubhouse and get some of that great food and look at the beautiful paint and landscaping, you'll also see some new Adirondack chairs sitting there. They will soon be joined by 2 fire pits, which will be sitting out on the patio. So you want to pull up some Adirondack chairs on a chilly night and get some hot chocolate and sit around a couple of fire pits with a few friends, maintaining some good social distancing in the new Adirondack chairs. That would be a really fun thing to do in the evening. So thanks to Terry again and her committee, and our partnership with Blossman made some of that possible because they weren't able to do their big event in Playfield Park this year. So we managed to get some really nice fire pits out of the deal. Last but not least, not as much, not anywhere near as much fun. I do continue to hear that there's a number of people coming down with COVID-19. We are not isolated from this. It's not our employees, but it's property owners. They get it in the most darndest ways that I hear. And all I would say is, please don't let your guard down. Everybody's been, very, very cooperative since I got here. Masks are really important. Social distancing is really important. Hand washing is really important. A vaccine is coming, but so is winter. So get your flu shot. Please follow the property owner rules and regulations that the POA has put out. They're there for everybody's protection. You guys, us, all of the employees, and the cavalry is coming, but it's not quite here yet. So just hang in there a little bit longer, keep up the vigilance, and it's extremely important. And Wayne, that would conclude my report.
Great. We're going to switch over to business, and we're going to begin with Linda Powell, and we'll talk first indoor tennis, and then she's going to talk bocce. So Linda, it's all yours.
All right, so the indoor tennis courts have needed some attention for some time now. The building is over 25 years old, and for several years we have had leaks here and there percolating through the roof. It's getting progressively worse, so thank goodness we have decided that we need to address the issue. And initially we said, okay, new roof, new insulation, all is good. But as we looked further, we realized that the insulation on the walls of the indoor court were old and had gotten wet and maybe a little moldy. And there were lots of holes in this insulation from tennis balls hitting them. And to redo the roof and the insulation and not take care of the walls because they smell really, really bad would be neglectful. So we have 3 proposals to have that done. The proposals were delayed because we added the additional wall insulation replacement. So those have come back. There's a few questions we want to follow up with to clarify exactly their approach of how they're going to do this. And once all of our questions that the Finance Committee may have or anybody else are answered and we're comfortable, then we will move forward to select one of these proposals to go ahead and take care of the indoor courts. Then if we want to talk about the bocce courts.
Linda, excuse me, Linda, before you go on to bocce,
Yes, sir.
the tennis facility, are we doing anything with the, I won't call them locker rooms, they're more restrooms, because when the locker rooms at the fitness center were closed, wellness center were closed last year, we used the ones in the tennis facility, and those are not first rate by any means.
No, sir, they're not. This was not part of the scope of this particular project. I do believe they need to be updated. I believe that could happen without a huge expense. I would be more than happy to get the ball rolling on that because I agree with you. I think that's a necessity. You can have a beautiful indoor court, but those bathrooms are very dated. So yes, to answer your question, it needs to be done.
Well, you'll have to, I guess that's something you'll discuss with Scott. I agree, it probably shouldn't cost that much money, but Scott will have to find room in the capital budget if we're going to need to make that happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Linda, you're ready to move on to bocce unless there's any other questions.
If anybody else has any other questions, that's fine. If not, I'll move on to bocce.
Thank you.
Linda, this is Phil. What is the status of the court updates on converting over?
On the Clay Tech conversion?
Clay Tech, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. It is my expectation that we will be playing tennis on those new courts December 1st.
Okay, very soon.
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the bocce courts, we pulled together a bocce advisory committee so that we could encompass players for their ideas on creating the specifications for these courts. In addition, I have, these are the specifications here. In addition, we have a Racquet Club Advisory Committee that has 3 people that play both tennis and bocce on it. So these specifications have been reviewed and approved by numerous committees and people. We also sent them out to the bocce member community for them to review for any comments or additions. And after we made those additions, we went ahead and sent them out for bid. They are out now. The bids are due back November 16th on Monday. One of the complications was being able to find bidders for these courts. A lot of times when people are doing bocce courts, they do them in-house. And it's difficult to find companies that specialize in the installation of bocce courts in North Georgia. But we were happy that we found 3, and we'll just have to wait and see what results we get from the bids that we sent out. And Justin, if you want to show the last, we can go ahead and show the court plan, the diagram. We took a lot of time. We were very detailed in lighting and tables and placement, and we will have wheelchair access on one of the courts for those people who may be handicapped and need that access. That will be available.
Linda, let me ask you a question. You know, obviously the overarching concern is the foundation for the bocce courts themselves. You want to highlight the work that's going to go into that to kind of reassure everyone?
Yes, sir. The placement of the bocce courts is at the present basketball court location. That property and those courts have been there for quite some time. That land is extremely settled and compacted. So when the winning bidder comes in, they are going to expand that asphalt pad a little bit, 7 feet on one side, and they will put a new coating on top. So the land, we're confident that there won't be any settling or anything because it's not new compacted dirt. It's been there. It's stable. So, and we're also going on top of a surface that's already there. We're not ripping out that asphalt, we're adding to it. We're expanding the pad and putting another layer on top. The courts themselves will be recessed, so we will actually be cutting into that asphalt and digging down 7 to 10 inches and having recessed bocce courts. The people who are bidding know the situation. Several have been on site. They have no concerns whatsoever about doing it at this present location.
Great, thank you. Candace, are you ready to talk? Give us
Wayne, I have a question, please.
Go ahead, Regis.
Hey, Linda, how do the specifications that we're currently out for bid on compare to the courts that were constructed last year, other than the obvious, they're going to be built on a stable foundation? Are they pretty much the same, or are they more elaborate? Are there more embellishments, or are we going in the other direction?
No, sir. I'm actually quite proud of when you have a horrible situation, if you can turn it around and pull benefit out of it, that's what you look to do. We actually have changed the courts themselves a lot. The courts you have now are on top. You step over the borders to get into the court. These will actually be recessed. So when you're overlooking, you're not going to see these wooden barriers around the courts. It's going to be nice and smooth. The appearance will be much different. And we believe, the committee and everyone else, that it will be much nicer. We have gone to great lengths to make sure that we have the drainage requirements necessary to keep them dried out fast, blah, blah, blah. It's much it's much different. We will have shading, lighting. Yes.
So what about the cost implications of these enhancements?
I can't answer that question until we get the bid back. Can we make? we can
Regis, I would say the committee also did a really thorough job of both visiting a similar facility in Roswell, as well as kind of combing many facilities in the Southeast on the internet, calling different people, talking to them about the pros and cons of what they had done. So I would think this is consistent with a preeminent mountain community in the Southeast. Now, we'll see when the bids come back if we've done anything that, you know, is exorbitant. But I would say it's just largely better construction in the sense that instead of using 6x6 wooden timbers that are going to check and warp, making it, as an expert one-time bocce player, you want to have the bumpers be pretty straight on the side of your bocce court. When you use 6x6s, that's not going to happen. So these are all composite. The lowering of the courts makes it so you have some handicapped access. As we were saying, having one court wheelchair accessible, we thought was important for the future. Thinking through shading, that wasn't done well on the first experience. And again, being out there on a hot day, it's not all that pleasant. So, you know, thinking through how to do that. I think it's just paying attention this time to all the details, and we'll see what the price comes in at.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Like Linda said, we'll see what the bid comes in at.
Right, exactly.
And I have a couple of questions too. With the, you said you had expanded the court size. You were going to expand it a certain number of feet. I remember being out on the old courts, and the thoroughfares and walkways were dangerously narrow, and even the seating places that are, furniture they had out there, they were so narrow you could stumble over the legs when you were trying to walk back and forth. Also, did you make mention about a storage facility for your tools and things for your?
And that's correct, Lou. We've really taken the time to address those things that were a problem in the past. Since we're going to do this and we have the space to do it properly, that's the specifications encompass all of those dreams and wishes that everybody wanted. But in addition, they also address maintenance. The other courts had wooden barriers, bumpers that had to be maintained. The area around the courts, when you tried to blow them or clean them, they were artificial turf. It was a mess. This will make this maintenance will be so minimal. You take a blower out there and you're done. So we're
Linda, along the lines of lessons learned, I'd really like to acknowledge you of the involvement of property owners as opposed to the last project. You've got a committee involved. You took the specifications twice, I believe, to all of the bocce ball players for comments and got their comments. That was a very important element in getting what you've got now.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on bocce? If not, Candace, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. Well, Scott did a great job introducing the beginning of what I was going to relay in terms of updates with the Capital Contribution Fund. We do have a website, bigcanoeccf.org, that's been up and running for over a week now. And not only does it have good information, but it has an FAQ, and then also links to each of the published articles so far. And those include several from Scott, one on CCF provides sustainable source of capital to maintain and improve our property. And then the other one is maintaining the standards expected to Big Canoe. CCF is the answer. The third article came out featuring Charles Vecchio with Big Canoe Realty. On when it comes to real estate in Big Canoe, CCF is a smart investment. There is one more article that's going to be published, actually two, in Inside the Gates and also Smoke Signals over the next couple of weeks. We have created, our group is, not me, our marketing group has created CCF brochures that'll be available at the post office, the fitness center, the clubhouse, and other sites that people visit frequently in the next day or two. And then on November 17th, we're going to have a virtual hall meeting at 10 o'clock Tuesday, the 17th, and we'll have 4 speakers. And Bob Crouch will MC this. Phil Baldwin will provide Big Canoe real estate information. Hal Bish is co-chair or is chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, will discuss the master plan. And Amy Truppenbaum is the current chair of the Finance Committee. She'll go over the due diligence involved in what the Finance Committee began doing in 2018 to look at other communities and the fee structures that they have in place for that. There will also be a full page ad in Smoke Signals later this month. And finally, the ballots go out the end of the month for the voting period of December 2nd to December 30th. And we'll announce the results of the votes by 12/31. One
Any
other
question?
thing, excuse
Go
me,
ahead,
one
Ken.
other thing I forgot about the town hall meeting. We hope the major part of the meeting will be, asking questions and so forth. So I think we'll.
And Candy, you and your work group have got to be gratified as you've worked very hard, very diligently, and reported on the progress since early this year.
Right, April, I believe. I think we actually, in as early as April, we were asking for volunteers. And as I've recounted in the past, we had 6 volunteers from various segments, including the risk area, the long range planning, finance, and then we had a property owner who was not involved in any of those committees, but was a recent graduate of Leadership Big Canoe. So I think we had a good cross section of the property owners.
A good group, a good result, and now it's up to the property owners to recognize those efforts in 3 weeks, and we'll have a vote. Thank you.
Any other questions for Candace from the board? If not, Lou, you're up.
All right, thank you. Well, y'all bear with me because I think with this being the last work session, I was feeling just a little bit sentimental, but I wanted to reinforce exactly what Bob Crouch said, that the POA board members, along with the members of Long Range Planning, POA staff, Bobby Jones Link staff, and many others have dedicated long hours and their professional efforts towards a more effective management of master plan projects. And also, Scott with community maintenance and enhancement priorities. I think all of their efforts are truly deserving of the community's acknowledgement and appreciation. Can you change that for me? Through the unforeseen challenges associated with the pandemic, they've been well managed, but there has been some impact on a few of the 2020 projects previously scheduled for implementation here in Big Canoe. Okay. Just a few weeks back, I had made mention of the projects being worked on from behind the scene, which was the professional registry or professional collaborative Big Canoe. You might remember that the registry will partner with the board of directors and the general manager as a resource for industry professionals. Those that are willing to generously offer support to the community by registering on the Big Canoe webpage and specifying their areas of expertise, as well as their schedule preferences. In the spirit of volunteer service and professional commitment, members may be resourced for written recommendations or giving us professional opinions or assessments. And there's a host of support opportunities that we could use, both the board and the general manager, as far as community projects and initiatives that we're managing and overseeing. It is in our pursuit of better business results, operating efficiencies, and much more in Big Canoe that we've set out to establish the registry for professional resources for use as a viable, valuable professional resource to the board and the general manager. I think you can move forward on one, yeah. This year, the program has slowly advanced due to the efforts placed with the Creek 9 initiative and what Candy just spoke of with the Capital Contribution Fund initiative, in addition to a host of other projects implemented under the Bobby Jones Links contract. But, next slide. The website design for the registry of for the professional resources is now currently available for your review. All of these notes on the side are things that Justin has been able to complete. And we now have a formal kickoff scheduled for early rollout in 2021, in early 2021. And with that schedule for early 21, we also have a very, very appropriate project. Okay, here's the website showing Justin's work where you can register. Do we have another slide? This is the information you can provide and some of these skills and expertise that we're now seeking, although that could serve to expand. And I think this is a very interesting addition because we will have listed here the projects in the Big Canoe community. The ones that are inactive, of course, will be shaded, but you can visit this site and see what's currently active, who's being recruited, and of course, either inquire or of course, make your application. In September of 2010, the POA Governance Committee submitted a report recommending a governance model for the unique requirements of the Big Canoe community. If you haven't read their document, it's online and it's really worth the time. They approved a charter for a governance implementation committee, and some of their findings, I'll cut to the short, was a board structure and organization, uniform governance practices, and the review of policies and procedures. Thus, from an interesting conversation that I had from a prior board member whom I met in 2018, he had this concept, and I think Bob Crouch said he was familiar with it, regarding a governance review task force of the Big Canoe POA. It is going to be designated by the board of directors to conduct a comprehensive review and analysis of our current bylaws, regulations, policies, and procedures. The objective is to recommend all revisions to provide clear, comprehensive information to Big Canoe property owners and staff, and guaranteeing that they all are cohesive and conform to our covenants. The work will begin with the bylaws and then continue to policies and procedures, and finally, the review of rules and regulations. I just want to remind everybody that the website design is currently available for review. I hope that those involved in or interested in the professional registry will take a look. As I said, we are now scheduled to roll out just after the holidays, and I certainly look forward to learning more about the invaluable professional resources I know are here in the community and the ways that you can support both the general manager and the board of directors. Thanks.
Questions for Lou from the board? Lou, thanks for starting to bring this together. For the community, if you've got a unique expertise, look over the things we're working with. Why go out and try to hire someone if we can get some really smart ideas from someone who's already in the community and give us a heads up? And so that's really part of the effort here. We've done that in the past in a couple of things, and I think it's a very commendable effort. Regis, you're up on Strategic Plan Task Force Charter. Regis is going to cover this briefly, just to let everyone know we're working on this. Go ahead, Regis.
Okay, just for a little background information. I think everyone's familiar with the property owner survey that was done this past summer. And one of the questions that was asked was, I know what the strategic plan is for Big Canoe, and it is clearly communicated to me. Well, that particular question got a 4.9 rating, I think 4.9 out of 10, and it ranked 36 out of 37 questions that were asked on that survey. So obviously, we need to do something. And after discussions of the survey results with the board, we determined that we really need to do a top to bottom refresh of our current strategic plan. And given everything that was on the table for the past several months and through the end of the year, we decided that we would really kick things off in earnest on this initiative in the first quarter of next year. So in thinking about this, my idea or concept for how to develop this strategic plan is through a task force of property owners, hopefully a very, very diverse cross-section of property owners. So as Scott mentioned, we've got a lot of new people moving in, families with young children. We want everybody's perspective on this. So to put this task force together, the first thing we need to do is prepare a charter, which I took a shot at. I'm not going to discuss the charter in detail in this meeting. All the board members have it. If there are any questions, comments, suggestions about that charter, this would be the appropriate time to talk about it. And hopefully we can get this.
Apparently, Regis, somebody wants to talk to you about it.
It was caller ID said spam Atlanta.
Well, there you go, bud.
It's not a friend of mine. But anyway, so like I was saying, we're not going to go over this charter in detail, but I would like to get at least an approval or suggestions or changes we need to make to the charter to get it approved. And then the intention would be to begin to recruit a team, a task force, and this charter so that the property owners will be familiar with it. It certainly will be made available when we go out to the community in e-blasts or other means to actually solicit volunteers to serve on this committee. So with that in mind, any questions, comments, suggestions on the charter?
Regis, when do you think you want your comments from the board? They'll probably take a little more time to read it, sometime this week.
Well, the charter went out last week. So
I know, but I don't know if we've gotten comments from everyone, so I'm.
No, I mean, the purpose was to discuss the charter in this meeting.
Yeah.
Given the fact that it is a working session, the plan was to discuss it here. If people would prefer to do that at a later time, that's fine. But I would really like to get this thing kicked off in the near future so we can have our team put together after the holidays so we can hit the ground running and get the strategic plan in place by the first quarter of next year.
Bob, your comments?
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I looked at the charter, of course, when you sent it out, and it looks like the roles and some of the other things are fairly straightforward and things we ought to do. I think the discussion we ought to have later is the composition of the team and the involvement of the board versus other alternatives.
Lou, you have any other comments?
No, I just wanted to assure Regis, seeing that I was motivated to get in. I've done some extensive work in strategic plans in the past, and so I did find some of the reference materials that I wanted to find, and I'll get something to you promptly, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this come together.
Anyone else want to? Let's see if we can try to get things together for Regis.
Okay.
By early next week, and Bob, I'll let you decide.
Perfect.
On what some timelines that you think will be appropriate.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
All
Hopefully we'll have some time Monday.
Okay.
Sounds good. The master plan criteria discussion, Regis, you're gonna move to
Yes.
that also.
Okay. I mentioned previously that the strategic plan question ranked 36 out of 37 in terms of the property owner satisfaction with that particular aspect of the big canoe community. The only thing that ranked lower than the strategic plan was the master plan, which was 37 out of 37, dead last. So, and that had to do with understanding of what exactly the master plan is. Now, there's certainly been a lot of talk about the master plan recently. We talked about it as, part of the Creek 9 initiative. That particular project was part of the master plan. Of course, the capital contribution fund is going to fund master plan projects. And in a discussion the board had in a work session last week, it became pretty clear that there really is not a defined criteria for what exactly constitutes a master plan project. And I think it's important that we're all on the, we're all, and that I'm talking about management, the board, long-range planning, finance, as well as the property owners, that, this would at least defining what actually, why something is a master plan project and why something isn't. That would help, I think, and clarify to the property owners and exactly what the master plan constitutes or is constituted of, comprised of, and how we determine what projects go into that classification or category. So with that in mind, again, I sent out earlier some kind of a straw man that I put out for what I thought should be a master plan, would be appropriate criteria for a master plan project. I know we all got something from the long range planning committee. Again, this is something that we can either discuss today or we can discuss at a future point in time, or we can decide if the rest of the board thinks that, well, really we don't, this is unnecessary, and we all, I think Amy used the analogy that, if you were asked to define beauty, it would be hard to do, but if you saw beauty walking through the door, you would know what it is. That's the same kind of thing, that it's hard to define a master plan project, but when we see it, we know it is what it is. So that's the topic. Welcome any input from other members of the board on this.
Well, I would add one of the things that's probably people should recognize is that several years ago, the board asked Chambers to come in and do a comprehensive survey. And part of the reason we asked them to do that was so that we could start defining their understanding of topics that we needed to address. And some of them are straightforward, the food and beverage or the post office. But some of these that deal with both strategic plan and master plan, they got at the bottom of the list. And I somewhat believe that part of the challenge was it well defined what they were answering. And so the good news, we know that we need to get clarity on it. We need to take the time to delineate between them and then address it accordingly. But I think the one good news is we asked the question. And because of that, you've got some very clear statistics that say, gee, we're not doing very good explaining that, even though they're really, truly important to us. So I would just share that with the community. And Bob, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I would say, Regis, this is a very important initiative. I think we can, I think we can agree very quickly tonight that the work that you have done with input from Amy from the Finance Committee and Hal Bish from the Long Range Planning Committee, I think we can come pretty close to finalizing that. I think it's very important that we have it because we're talking about projects that are going to be funded by the capital contribution fee when it's passed. And we need a good, clear definition, but I think your definition, your straw man is right about on with a couple of tweaks from Amy, and I think Hal's input was pretty much in agreement with it.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of comments to reiterate what you just said, Bob. For us, it was, and we haven't taken up this formally. We could do that if we needed to, but these were just some incidental comments that my group had that, basically it has to substantially improve the functionality of an existing common property, not just return it to the way it was. Like the indoor tennis courts would probably not be a master plan item because it's just fixing something that was already there. It's still a capital expense, but it's not a master plan expense. It would also fall under an order of magnitude of the amount, the life expectancy of what is happening, and that it's real property, generally not things like vehicles. But I still think, we have to look at each project on its own merits, but those are some of the underpinning of the criteria that we think is going to be important.
I agree. They have to be looked at separately, but I think it's also, a pretty good measuring stick to use the results from the Chamber's survey, because those clearly convey the sentiments of at least the priorities and sentiments of the residents. And I know that long-range planning serves a very vital function in recognizing possibly moving up the priorities due to certain circumstances or conditions. But I still think that we need to adhere to what the property voters have stated are their preferences and priorities.
Regis, am I being too optimistic to think that you can take your straw man and take what Amy just commented and has provided earlier and what Hal gave as late as this afternoon and draft a final version that we can vote on next Thursday?
Yeah, that would be fine, Bob. Just for the property owners' benefit who haven't seen this criteria that I've been talking about, if you'll bear with me one moment, I will just review that. So at least we're all kind of on the same page. We're all being, including property owners that weren't on my email distribution, which is most of us. Okay, so my straw man was a significant expenditure greater than $250,000. And I go on to say this threshold could be met by combining two or more associated projects. For example, we've talked about the marina. Well, there's two different projects. I'm not sure. I know the one in terms of moving the docks and to alleviate some of the congestion there is under $100,000. But if you combine that with the parking lot enlargement, it would exceed that easily exceed that $250,000 threshold. So those two would be combined to be referred to as something like marina enhancements. Okay, well, the second one would be the purpose of the project is to renew, repair, improve, or enhance, or create infrastructure or amenities. So that kind of Amy's comment about substantially improve, not to be, not simply restore something to its current condition, that would have to be worked into that criteria. The third criteria would be the life for the new assets, or the new assets, improvements or enhancements would have to be, these would be long-term. I threw out 10 years, maybe it should be 15 years, but I'm not that familiar with the asset lives of various assets we have on our books, but that is something we would probably have to take a look at before finalizing that. But it should be something that is, again, is an investment in the future, not something that's going to last 4 or 5 years and then is going to be turned over. And then finally, as Amy said, that we talked about, this would probably be, in most cases, this would be real property, which of course, if you remember from business law, is land or structures or other items permanently affixed to the land. So that is the nature of the projects we'd be looking at for this. So I will do as Bob has suggested. I will take the input we got from long range planning as well as Amy's suggestions and try to put something together so we may vote on it.
Hey, Regis, I'm fully in agreement with everything you just said. I think the one point we got to clarify maybe a little bit more is number 2, when we talk about renewing, something like redoing the swim dock, for example, which is well past its useful life and needs to be renewed. We're taking it, we're not changing the functionality of the swim dock in Lake Disharoon. We're returning it back to its original condition and purpose, but it would still meet criterias 1, 3, and 4. But I wouldn't call it a master plan project, I think, under Amy's definition, because we're just getting it back to its original functionality. So I think just
I think that's a good point, and that's the same thing when we look at the chimneys. We're not just fixing the roof or replacing the rotting railing or siding. We're enhancing it.
Right. So I think the rest of them are right on.
Right. The input from Hal Bish and the Long Range Planning Committee said it's a project that, getting back to the strategic plan, we have a strategic plan in place, and the master plan supports the strategic plan. It drives us towards the achievement of our goals. Right. So that would be one of the criteria that would be considered, that it is kind of a strategic investment.
Yeah. So
I think we're well on our way. I think we're all pretty much on the same page. And I think it will help in addition to some of the other activities that are going to be happening with the master plan, I'm sure that it will help to drive that from the bottom of the barrel on the next survey.
Okay, Bob, was Lydell going to speak at all today?
Jason is going to take it. Lydell is actually working at the Masters.
Oh,
well, I'm watching him. I'm waiting to have him raise his hand so I can see him.
Which is a great honor, and we should feel awesome about that, because they only select certain superintendents from around the country for that honor, and he's on that list, which is
I'm impressed.
pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay, well, tell Lydell to wear a fluorescent coat tomorrow so I can see. Okay, Jason, you're all on, bud.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think technically he's volunteering at the Masters.
He's not paid.
But either way, it's a very distinguished honor to be selected and allowed to do that. And he's done that for many, many years. And, I'm sure there's a myriad of new techniques and tips and knowledge that he can gain from that. So it's invaluable, not only for him, but for Big Canoe. The Creek 9 irrigation, as part of the renovation, certainly the irrigation system had to be upgraded. We had an independent designer design a new system. That design was given to the three distributors of the irrigation equipment. There are only three real manufacturers: Toro, Rainbird, and Hunter. The current system that we have is a Hunter system. So that design was given to each distributorship, and they were, bid off those design specs. Those have been received. The bids have been received, and Libel did as per usual, a wonderful job of creating a pros and cons list for each manufacturer. Ironically enough, the current system that we have, Hunter, was the highest bid that we received. And then the remaining two, Toro and Rainbird, were both well below the value and Bergen's not design, but in his budget. So ultimately, after weighing the pros and cons with Rainbird and Toro, we feel like, and Libel does especially, that the Toro system is going to be the best system moving forward long term for the POA and for that golf course, and that's the route he prefers to take is with the Toro irrigation system. The contractors will have basically a labor component, and then the irrigation components will be purchased by the POA independently, so there's no contractor markup for those. Any questions with that before I move to the...
What is the time length that you estimate it will take to put the irrigation piece in? And what, if any, impact does it have on our facilities?
None. I mean, the timeline will be as the construction goes. I mean, because you have
So it'll fit in with
components.
Bergen as he's...
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But they won't function independently of each other.
So it'll be integrated with that.
Absolutely.
Have we looked at the equipment that needs to be brought in and the tonnage of the vehicles that are going to bring it in? And you and I have talked about this before. Are the bridging systems in the golf course able to handle it?
Yeah, absolutely. They are. I mean, and in many cases, they can avoid them altogether. But yeah, the equipment will fit the job. We don't have to worry about bridge loads or exceeding capacities.
So one other question that came up, and Lydell and I talked about it, was will we have a master pump facility that will not only drive the new renovation, but the other golf courses that will be the basis for facilitating ease of installment?
Yeah, ultimately, Wayne, we'll have, currently there are 3 independent pump stations, 1 for each 9. The overall master irrigation design shows that we will actually could reduce one of those to where the existing Choctaw pump station is, and that it will service both.
Yeah, I think that's what Lydell briefed me on, and that makes perhaps maintenance a lot easier. And the other sidebar, well, go ahead, Jason, I'm sorry.
Well, no, not only maintenance, but there's, significantly less cost in long term.
No, that's what I meant by maintenance. If you reduce the maintenance, you're going to reduce the cost. The other question is, do we have a lot of parts left from the old system, and what can we do with it?
We don't really have a lot of parts left. Again, for the most part, all the greens heads will be replaced. I mean, there's avenues that we can use to dispose of them to other golf courses, or I mean, there's not going to be a lot of parts that are interchangeable, especially with the newest heads, and having the newest technologies. There's simply no compatibility there.
Yes. So my point was, if you're able to dispose of them and get rid of any inventory we have, that would be to our advantage.
Recycle.
Jason, won't we be using isn't that system common to what we have on Choctaw and Cherokee, and we'd be using those parts on those systems for the next several years?
Yeah, you're right, Regis. Ultimately they'll phase out as the
Right.
renovations
Yep.
are completed, but immediately, I mean, there will be some spare parts that we could use on the other 2 nines, but yeah, at some point those will phase out and they'll all be converted to the newest technology that we'll be installing on crew.
Well, the key point, Jason, was just that you're already thinking ahead to say what the end game is to get rid of inventory you don't need. And that's really my message. Anything else
That's right.
you want to cover on Creek 9?
As far as I'd like to talk about the construction, the contract.
There you go. Thank you.
Themselves. Initially we did send out I'll call it preliminary bid to 6 contractors, golf course construction contractors. We received bids from them all, and after reviewing those 6 bids, we pared that down to 2 preferred contractors. And so final bids were sent to them, and or final details, I should say, were sent to them for their final bid. And Southeastern and Sanders were the 2 contractors. Now we received their final bids, and quite honestly think Sanders is the best contractor. They had the most favorable bid, lowest bid for Big Canoe. They are a top-notch, top-quality contractor. I know that Bill Bergen has used them on 4 or 5 golf courses, maybe a few more. And really what separates them is their attention to detail and the finished quality that we can expect with this project. So expect to have a contract ready to sign, I would say, by the end of next week or so.
We expect that
with Sanders.
Bill supports both initiatives as you recommended them.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's important. I mean, I don't think I don't think it was in question, but I just wanted to be sure that the community understood that we had done the right due diligence to ensure that.
Wayne, he was hoping that as we did the bidding process, he was kind of hoping that Sanders would come through as, one of the top 2, and they ended up coming up as the top 1, because he just says the quality, their finished work, their attention to detail, they are his dream team. And, although he can work with other people and get the job done, he said, the Big Canoe is incredibly lucky to have gotten them as actually the lowest bidder, and also wanting to do the work and having the availability to do the work when we need it done. So
yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago when I talked to him, that was the question I asked: how did he control the independent bids? And he said, well, some of it's you just put it out there and see if you get the right guys. So that's why I'm asked the question. Sounds to me like, Jason, we're on board in a very synchronized effort.
Go ahead, Regis.
Absolutely.
Scott, I was just wondering what the path forward on this is. I know we've satisfied competitive bid requirements. I was in the meeting where these were discussed.
Yep.
There's a lot of write-up and substantiation that's required per our policies and procedures.
Correct.
It has to be reviewed by finance before the board finally approves the execution of the contract. So what are your thoughts on how and when we're going to get that done?
You just laid it out perfectly. So we had a call with Bill this morning, and we talked through that. And in my inbox over here on the other screen, I actually have received in the last hour the first draft of the contract from Sanders. We'll be looking at that. We'll be having it reviewed by our attorney, Kim Gaddis. We'll be taking it to the finance committee as soon as we can. If we can do that, probably not by next week. So we'll work out with Amy a special session, something to have finance look at that. And then we'll bring it back before the board for an okay. And I just want to stress everything that Jason is talking about is within the 2.22 million that we took to vote for the property owners. And so, you know, the budget is building up when you take the irrigation system and you take the Sanders bid and you take, you know, Bill's contract. We're keeping track of everything and making sure we're staying within that 2.22 million that we were authorized with the vote. So more to come, but you outlined exactly the procedure from here.
So Jason, any other comments you want to make? We appreciate the update. We're glad that the bids came in smartly to match what we were hoping for.
I think my final comment would be thank you to the property owners who voted in favor of this. It's long overdue, and for all the effort from the team to accomplish this and get the ball rolling is much appreciated. And I'm excited about the renovation and the quality of the golf course that'll be playable post renovation.
Great. Board, is there any other questions before we go to questions and answers of us?
Yeah, I have one question, actually, two questions. Scott, you know how much I love reading contracts, so not that I want to interfere with your contract review process, but if you could send me that contract. And then the second question I had actually goes back to your initial comments. I noticed a bit of activity at the dam today. I suspect they were inspecting the sluice gate. Do you want to touch briefly on that and
Yeah, thank
what's
you.
going on there?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for reminding me. So you may recall probably a few months ago, we talked about a multi-prong evaluation plan for the dam. And it began with, you know, our quarterly inspections we do with Geosyntec. Then we wanted to do a underwater dive 100 feet down to check actually the integrity of the sluice gate and all of the associated apparatus for opening it. And before you open it, you need to check the downstream side of it, which is there's a 36-inch culvert that runs from the sluice gate underneath the dam and underneath part of Playfield Park. And that has not been inspected for quite some time. So we are inspecting it. So today we have a Geosyntec subcontractor out here that basically is running a camera system up inside that culvert and looking for any concerns, cracks, debris, anything of that nature. If it's something that they can easily clear, they will do so. If it's something that requires, you know, more repair, if anything would be found, then that would be, you know, a separate work order that they would provide as an estimate for, and, you know, we would go forward accordingly. So that is the second step in creating our multi-year plan. The third step is we have asked Geosyntec and entered into an agreement with them to do a multi-pronged series of tasks, which include reviewing all of the current regulations from the state of Georgia in regard to dam construction and operation, and just making sure that everything is totally compliant with what we're doing. And also then they will put a plan together once this inspection is done today, where they will actually open the sluice gate and make sure that we can stop the water if we need to, because although everything looks okay, you don't know until you try. So we open slowly and find a way to stop, you know, have a plan to stop the water, so we're not figuring that out afterwards. That would be really bad. And then they will also be running some other calculations for us. And at the time that we can open the sluice gate and verify its function, then we would actually lower the water in the lake a little bit, and we'll do a thorough inspection of the spillway and make sure the condition of the spillway meets all current requirements, and that its you know, condition is up to the standards that Geosyntec requires. And all of this is again a multi-prong process that will be taking place between now, actually started already, obviously, and really first quarter of next year. So we, part of that project is continuing, obviously, to update the board, the audit and risk committee, and of course the community on where we are, what we're finding, and what, if any, corrective action we need to do on the dam. So we're kind of at step 2 today.
Any other questions?
I've got a comment, Wayne. Scott mentioned earlier about the potential availability of a vaccine for COVID. And Scott and I talked today about how downstream, when that is available, how Big Canoe would fit into the Warp Speed is the name of the plan to distribute it nationally or internationally. And anybody that saw 60 Minutes, a long dissertation on that, I think the number was $12 billion that's already been spent on that plan. We think we need to understand ultimately what is the communication plan going to be? How are we going to be involved in it? What are the priorities? How are they going to be established? What are the logistics? So we are arranging a meeting fairly shortly to try to proceed with that.
Bob, I have some other insights on it. I was out of state visiting last week, and I'll share that with the board. But there's exceptionally in-depth analysis by the military for the distribution under the horse target.
It was a very impressive scenario on 60 Minutes.
Well, he is a professional logistician, and they have spent a considerable amount of time trying to locate every place. Probably the number one concern is a lot of this stuff has to be under cold conditions and refrigeration in order not to maintain its shelf life. And so there's been a national inventory.
97 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever.
Well, so any other questions before we go to questions? If not, I'd like to just make a couple of comments. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Charles Knapp, the former UGA president, for an exceptional presentation he did yesterday for the veterans. Phil Anderson, Paul Goldstein, and all the North Georgia vets for all the work they put in to put up all these posters and memorials for all the soldiers and their families along the bridge. I think it was a really great success. And I thank the board for allowing that to occur. So I wanted to make those comments. With that in mind, Tim, if we have questions for us, we're ready.
We do. We have a couple of questions from your audience. Let's take a look. All right. Stacy Johnson, lot 5589 asks, what is the email list that Regis referenced to whom he proposal? Wow. What email address did Regis give for the master plan project? It's not the same as the Big Canoe email blast because I have not received it.
Okay, I apologize, Stacy. That was a little joke, the attempt at a little joke. The email went to the board members, so it did not go out to the general property owners. So what I was referring to was an email that I had sent to the property owners, basically what I read from to communicate that to anyone not on the, what I call the distribution list for the email, which would have been everybody except the board. So in any event, there is no email distribution list. This criteria, as you heard, Bob has asked me to combine the input we got from long range planning along with the input from the finance committee. When that is finalized, we will make that public, publish that to the property owners in general. So I apologize for that misunderstanding, Stacy. That was my fault.
Next question, Tim. Now, Stacy, feel free to send Regis another question later.
Yeah. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, well, you're in it, buddy. So,
All right, well, Mark Newton from 2645 asks, what is happening with the lifeguards who worked this summer at Big Canoe? They are owed $4,000 by a third-party management group.
we're going to turn that over to Scott to answer, but this has been very much, Mark, since you talked to me on it, a concern for all of the board. And I think Scott can best cover what we're doing now in the future.
Yeah, let me just say this is ridiculous. This is so sad that you know, a company treats employees this way. So first of all, I want to thank Steve Panetta. Steve was an advocate for these folks all summer long. So just to let the property owners know what's happening, for years, Big Canoe used a lifeguard management company to staff our pools for the summer rather than bring them in as seasonal Big Canoe employees. Steve's done that for years. We have probably been through every lifeguard company in North Georgia. I would just say their HR practices have been consistently not up to the standards of ethics that we run Big Canoe with. Steve has gone out of his way to try to help these kids all summer, and sometimes was successful and sometimes was not. We have no relationship now with this company. We have terminated our contract. Or not going to renew our contract for next year. We are going to manage the lifeguards ourselves next year. This is something Steve has wanted to do for a while, and management agrees 100%, and so does the board when we reviewed the budget last week. We're trying still to intervene in any way possible, but we have very little leverage with that company at this point. We have coached the kids on approaching the Georgia Department of Labor because that's the right thing to do. They should do that. And I've also authorized Steve to look at maybe some enticements, monetary enticements for if some of these folks come back next year, which they've told Steve they so appreciate everything he's done for them. You know, if they elect to come back and become Big Canoe employees, maybe we can do something to help make up a little bit of that payroll on the front end when they elect to come back. So Steve is looking at different ways of helping out with that next spring. So that's
Scott, let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Is there a way that we could make these people whole and we go after them legally, the
No,
other company?
we could make them whole, but we can't go after the other company. I mean,
Well,
there's nothing, you know, we're not in the middle of this one, unfortunately. This is.
I understand, but I needed to ask the question
Yeah,
because
I mean,
it
we can
is-
make them, we can make them whole. It is a chunk of change. You know, what we talked with Steve about and Robert was basically, when the folks come back, we can look at seeing what we can do about that.
Scott, I'm assuming we had a contract with this third-party management company.
We did.
So we paid them, as I understand it, pretty much in advance. And I
No,
would assume it's,
We pay them actually on I don't know that it's quarterly or monthly. It's got to be monthly. We pay them on an interval, based on.
okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So I would assume this contract says we pay them and they pay the lifeguards. So it sounds to me, again, I'm not a lawyer, but they're in breach of that contract. And have we explored if there is a avenue, as Wayne suggested, that we could legally pursue reimbursement for these kids?
Yeah, I don't want to get into a big open discussion about this, but I would just tell you that I have Kim Gaddis involved looking at some different things.
Okay. I mean,
Very
I think we've made the point, Scott, that
Yep.
my position is we get them whole and we go after the bastards.
Yeah, I
So
really
I'm a
would like
veteran.
to see our lifeguards taken care of, whatever we got to do to make them whole.
And what was important, as Scott mentioned, the review of the budget, this topic in the review of the budget, to me, was important from a couple of standpoints. Going forward, we're not going to be doing business with the same company.
Right.
The lifeguards will be part-time employees of the POA, and it is going to save the POA money.
One thing, Scott, we need to reach out to all the lifeguards involved and make sure they're well informed on our concerns and what we're endeavoring to do. And I think we'll discuss offline if we have another set of options. I think it's important for the board to find a way to make these guys whole. To me, it's an integrity issue.
Well, one of our strategic objective is to enhance the reputation of Big Canoe. And this, you know, even though it isn't, we are not the guilty party here, this does nothing to enhance our reputation. So
Yeah.
I'm with you, Wayne and Phil.
Yeah.
We really,
And I would just tell you guys that the guards totally appreciate everything Big Canoe has done and have repeatedly told Steve that a number of them would come back to work for us next year. And the only reason is because of Steve and the way he treats them. So to your point, Regis, when we say employer of choice, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, I won't belabor it. Tim, what other questions do you have?
You've answered all the questions from the audience. Thank you very much.
That's incredibly good, Steve. Tim, thanks for all the work you and Jason are doing to help us. Bob, any closing comments?
Yeah, you did a better job than I did. You went through every agenda item. Way to go. Nice job, Wayne, sincerely.
Oh, it's my good looks at 73.
Thank you for tonight, and thank you for the 3 years. And you got 23 more days to go. Keep it up.
Great job.
Yeah, lots of stuff happens in 23 days. I've been in a few places that, yeah, well, tomorrow night's not as good as you think it is. I will say for everyone, it's an honor and a pleasure to have served the community for 3 years. Next week, I'm going to be forced to be the senior wine judge for the whole state of Georgia. Wine, distilled spirits, meads, and ciders. Somebody's got to do it for our country, and I'm the guy. So I probably won't be here next week.
bring home
Oh,
any
you're
leftovers,
practicing this
Wayne.
evening too.
So
Wayne, let Regis and I know if you need some help.
I hate to say you two are not qualified.
Uh-oh.
You didn't
I'll
come
swallow it,
close,
no
but
spit.
that's all right. For the community, thank you very much for listening to us. I want to particularly thank Linda for all the effort she put into trying to address both indoor tennis and bocce. Those are sensitive points, and we appreciate all the effort you put in to make this worthwhile.
Yes, we do.
Regis, I think you only owed one email to somebody to see if you could answer their question.
Okay, will do.
Okay, Bob, it's all over to you, bud. Got anything else?
That's it. Thanks again.
All right, I'll be here when you need me.
Motion to adjourn?
So
I
moved.
make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Opposed? No. We're adjourned. Good job.